Welcome, welcome, welcome to Sunday edition of Cover Together with your hosts Mara and Books. Last week is coming up before we get back to football, but we're tabling that discussion for today. Today we've got a couple different things to talk about. LeBron, he's landed. We know where he's going. They said he made his decision at 1 a.m. on Friday. It was keeping him up late at night. So we're talking about LeBron to Philly, all the teams he decided not to join, and kind of how we see that fit looking this time around. Then we also have the WNBA ALL-STAR weekend that just passed. It was a great display of women's sports, made my little heart smile. So we'll talk about that. And then the rest of free agency with the NBA, now that LeBron has made his decision and he's with the Sixers. Where does everyone else go and how do those things shake out? So you know why we're all here. Let's start with LeBron. He's in Philly now, alongside Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, BJ Edgecombe. What are your thoughts on the Sixers, new-look Sixers with LeBron and Jaylen Brown?
First, let me just say that, of course, it was a shocker to me, like it was everybody else. I don't want to come into this making it seem like we just knew he was going to Philadelphia. There was not a chance that was the first thing on my list.
Mine either.
But with all that being said, good for Bron. He's going. It sounded like he wanted to go back out east for sure. And it also sounded like he wanted to be in a big market in the East. To this day, it's going to take a while before we know if he was going to actually go to Miami or not. Did that little slip up change his mind? We don't know. According to Rich Paul, it was a very down-to-the-wire decision for him, and Rich Paul thought he was going to Miami. So, the way that this team looks, the starting five, obviously on paper, looks amazing. You got Tyrese Maxey at the point. You got BJ Edgecombe at the 2. You'd have Jaylen Brown at the 3. LeBron James at the 4. Joel Embiid at the 5. I mean, on paper, that's probably the best starting lineup in the NBA. What an offseason for Philly to turn this team around when a year ago, 2 years ago, we looked at the Paul George signing and we thought to ourselves, there goes Philly being Philly again. And they've made the worst deal in history. And somehow, some way, they flipped that for Jaylen Brown and LeBron James. Looking at the roster, that bench unit is going to need a little bit of help. Shortly after they signed LeBron, they signed KCP. They signed Anthony Simons. They brought in Huck Porty. And, of course, they'll have some guys returning, and they drafted Phylon Jr. So, the roster, the bench isn't the greatest, but the starting five is very solid. You do have 2 or 3 guys off the bench that'll be really good. And Nick Nurse, he likes to run short lineups anyway. So, for shock value, crazy move by Bron. But, for the fit, it makes sense for the fit. If you want to be out east and you want to be in a big market, Philly's probably the next biggest to New York. I would say probably out east. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, you really only had Miami as far as like a bigger market where you could get bang for your buck. And supposedly, without him even stepping foot in Philly, he's already slated to generate $300 to $400 million worth of revenue for this next upcoming season.
Yeah, his Philadelphia jerseys have already sold out. I think they sold out within minutes.
Yeah, they already had billboards ready to go. He signed a 2-year, $8 million deal. It's not exactly $4 million in the first season. It's about 3.9. And then he also has a 15% trade kicker. He did not go for the no trade clause, which he usually does, but I think he's just got faith, and I don't think they'll trade him anyway.
Well, he has a player option on that second year, right?
Correct.
If he decides he's done after this 1 year and just wants to hang it up, then that's an option too.
I also thought he did that in case he did get the inclination to go home for the last year. I don't think he's going back anywhere else. I think Philly's it. But yeah, I mean he still has the option to do what he wants to do at the end of the season. Looking at the team, though, I will say this. One thing that I have noticed that they're devoid of is rebounding. They have a lot of shot creation. They have a lot of playmakers out there. They have Embiid's going to do his thing. Tyrese is going to do his thing. Jalen's going to do his thing. VJ's going to get in where he fits in. But who's rebounding the ball? Because Joel isn't chasing down rebounds. LeBron, he can, but he's not going to do it every single night. Now, he might sacrifice. What do you think?
Will Jalen average double-digit boards from the three?
Well, that's another question too. Where's Jaylen Brown fit in all this? Because I think he came here with the idea that this is going to be his and Tyrese's team going forward, and maybe they were going to try to move Joel out, phase him out over time.
Which, I mean, that still could be the case. I don't think Joel's shelf life is very long. I mean, even with this team, like you said, on paper, they look like the Monstars, but this is Joel Embiid we're talking about. Yeah. I would expect him to be sidelined for a good portion of the season. And I'm not wishing injury on him.
Absolutely
It's just what happens with him.
According to their GM, he's the healthiest he's been in a while. I feel like we say that every offseason.
We do.
But LeBron felt comfortable enough to sign there. I think, this team is going to have to get a little bit deeper because Joel is probably going to be out. Even if he's not hurt, you're going to want to rest him to save him for the playoffs. And LeBron's probably going to be out. So throughout the season, there's going to be times where you're going to need a really good backup center. You're going to need a really good four that can genuinely start and you guys can still win games. Also, the other thing that concerns me is who is their POA? Who's their point of attack defender? If it's Jaylen Brown, now you're asking him to do a lot. You want him to drop double digits, and he's got to take the other team's best player.
Right.
And he's got to rebound. These are all things that I think we all get excited about when we first see the signing, but does it make basketball sense? And that's the part I'm starting to get to on this, whereas the shock and awe is gone. I'm starting to break this down and think to myself, I don't know if this is a great move unless you do some other things.
Right.
KCP is a nice pickup, but KCP is not the KCP of 5 years ago. This is a guy that got his money and he's been chilling.
Yeah.
In Memphis. He's bounced around a lot. So it's an interesting team. I think health is going to be their biggest obstacle, but the other thing is just going to be the small things like who's going to rebound, who's going to stand in the corner, and who's going to play defense. Yeah,
for sure. Health and fit,
Yeah.
It should gel, but it's going to take time. You have a lot of different players, personalities, play styles that you're trying to forge together. At the very least, it'll be a fun watch.
Absolutely. I'm glad that he went somewhere where he feels like he can still be on top of the world and chase a ring. Because Philly will embrace you now. When they turn against you, it's going to be bad. But they will embrace him on this journey.
Yeah.
And, as long as they're doing what they have to do as a team, he'll be okay. But there's a lot of ifs in there to me.
A ton of them.
Looking at the other teams that he could have joined, you have a Cleveland, you have Miami, Minnesota was linked to him at one point in time.
Golden State, and I kind of got to them last because they're the team to me that has to pivot the most from this not happening. Right.
I don't know if you saw today, Steph Curry was visibly upset. He's pretty much upset about this. And I think he came out with a quote. I'm just kind of summarizing that basically just said, this is why you don't basically get your hopes up in free agency because you don't know what's going to happen. And there's a lot of talks about him being frustrated to the point where rival executives are saying he might not sign his extension when he's eligible next offseason. So, I think there's a domino effect here. What did you think about, the teams that lost out on Bron in this? How do you think they fare?
I mean, I agree with what you said at the beginning. The Sixers, we knew they were in the talks, but they were never at the top of my list. I always thought he'd want the story. We know he's at the end. He even said it in his statement, he basically had to have a come to Jesus moment and figure out if he still wanted to play.
Absolutely.
So I thought he'd go for the story. I thought he'd either go home or he would go to Miami, where he also has great memories, finish it out with Pat Riley, that sort of thing. I think I had Cleveland top of my list just because it's LeBron and he's dramatic.
Right.
He could finish it at home. But like you said, Golden State does have to pivot. Those two teams, Miami and Cleveland, they still have an identity without LeBron coming to join them.
Yeah.
Cleveland's going to run it back with that same team. They'll probably make some tweaks here or there, but they have their core. And then Miami's trying to build with the duo of Bam and Giannis,
Mm-hmm.
So I think both of those teams still continue on the paths they were without him.
Yeah, I think it was interesting. The reports surrounding LeBron's signing was originally they wanted, his camp wanted Cleveland to either go get Kyrie or they wanted Golden State to go get Anthony Davis, and neither were on the table to be traded. Mm-hmm. And to me, I feel like that was the only way he was going to go back to Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's still a lot of bad blood there.
Do you?
I do. I think that he enjoys his hometown,
mm-hmm.
but I don't think he enjoys the Cleveland Cavalier organization. And to me, when time went on, the longer it went on, if he was going to go back home, he would have went back home.
Mm-hmm.
He kept pushing it out, looking for any other reason not to go back home.
Right.
And I think Miami was truly in play, but something was off about that situation for him, which is weird because all this talk about him wanting to play with another superstar and you had Giannis right there.
Mm-hmm.
And you could have signed the exact same deal and probably filled out the roster the way you wanted it. But he goes to Philly regardless, and you're going to see a team like Cleveland go hard after Jonathan Kuminga now. You're going to see a team like Golden State. They pivoted and tried to go get Trey Murphy, and the Pelicans have raised the price on Trey Murphy yet again. They offered 2 first-round picks. Pelicans came back and said, we want 3 unprotected first-round picks and a young player.
They've got to relax.
So these teams that were going all in for LeBron, they've lost out the most. And we'll kind of get into free agency, the remaining free agents. But it's just, I don't know, it's kind of a sad situation. I'm happy for Bron, he finally figured it out. But these other teams are now having to pivot so fast and make something happen out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, all in all, good for you, Bron. The city of brotherly love. He's already got a day. Did you see that?
No.
I think it was the mayor or the governor gave him a day. The LeBron James day.
We haven't even seen him out there yet. That's crazy for him to give LeBron a day and not Joel, who has done nothing but has been there for years.
He's got that MVP.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so, I mean, with all that being said, obviously there was a trickle-down effect from LeBron, and that is the remaining free agency class that we have. Currently, I think sitting at the top of that, we still have some restricted free agents. We have some guys that we do know are probably going to end up re-signing with their teams, like a James Harden. Draymond Green already re-signed on a terrible deal. Yeah, there's no love lost in this household about Draymond Green. $28 million for him to average 6 points and beat up your rookies is crazy.
Oh, my gosh. Beat up the rookies.
But regardless, we still do have some guys out there like Jonathan Kuminga. You've got a Peyton Watson out there. You've got Jalen Duren. You've got Benedict Mathurin. These are all younger guys that, they're expected to get paid and re-sign with their teams, but there's also talks of them being involved in signing trades. Mm-hmm. And so looking at that situation, let's first start with Jalen Duren. What do you think about this whole Pistons situation?
Am I in the minority if I say I don't feel like he deserves the max extension that he's looking for? Or, like, something's just not connecting for me. I know he's at that point in his career where he's due for it from a time period perspective. Yes. But performance-wise, I just feel like it would be absolutely insane to give him a max extension.
No, I agree.
Okay.
I don't think he deserves a max, but I think that it's a weird situation because if you're the Pistons, it's like, we got to pay this guy. Mm-hmm. But if you're Jalen Duren, you're like, you got to pay me and you don't have any other options, mm-hmm. so give me the max.
Yeah.
You know, and he probably is worth closer to $30 million, mm-hmm. but he wants $41 million a year. Oof. And they're looking at it like, if we give you $41 million over 4 years, you're probably going to end up being bad. Mm-hmm. Over time. That contract is going to age bad, and we're going to be hitting the second apron. Mm-hmm. We're not going to be able to keep guys around Cade.
Right.
So it's really a lose-lose, but they're going to have to come to some type of agreement. And the agent really, I don't know who his agent is, but this is one of those situations where it's like, meet them in the middle, do a 1+1, get your 30 whatever this year, and work that out next offseason. Mm-hmm. When you can control your destiny. Don't take the qualifying offer of like $4 million. Don't, sign some ridiculous deal. Mm-hmm. Just get through the year.
Yeah.
Kind of see what you got.
That's almost hard, though, because it's like if he doesn't sign and bets on himself, will we have a Dennis Schroeder type of situation,
Absolutely.
know, where he just completely messes himself out of a bunch of money because he has an even worse year,
And the center market is so fluctuating.
Yes,
it really is. But I get what he's trying to do. But if you're an organization, it makes the most sense not to give him a max. Mm-hmm. So, I do ultimately think he returns to the Pistons, but there's just a lot of drama with all this, and they're not going to be able to get anything worked out until these two sides come together and mm-hmm. figure it out together.
Right.
Stop all this arguing. As for the other restricted free agents we have, like Jonathan Kuminga, he's not really slated to return to Atlanta. He's actually been involved in a lot of sign and trade scenarios. Obviously, everybody's seen him being involved with the Lakers scenario. Mm-hmm. That doesn't look like it's going to happen. Cleveland is the next best thing, and I believe their offer is something similar to Max Strus and 2 second-round picks. Atlanta is not wanting to take back any money that is more than a year. Mm. So that's the hang-up with all these deals with Atlanta. They're happy getting off of him, but they don't want to be strapped going into the next big off season mm-hmm. where you're going to have a Jokic and all those guys available. So Benedict Mathurin, kind of a similar situation. I think he ends up staying with the Clippers, though, but his market is weird because we don't know if he's a sixth man or is he a starter. Mm-hmm. And teams are interested, but the Clippers aren't really biting on anything, so he probably ends up going back on a cheap deal. And then, of course, Peyton Watson, he's been linked to everybody because the Nuggets just don't have the money to give him. They'd like to give it to him, but they don't have it. Mm-hmm. So to me, I think he either ends up coming back on a qualifying offer or the Bucks have been the recent talks of a sign and trade. So, I don't know. Those guys, their future is not in their own hands, unfortunately. So
no.
Getting into the other free agents, we have a DeMar DeRozan, Russell Westbrook, who we'll get into in a minute. Kind of sad for Russ. Bradley Beal, and then the potential pending free agency of Klay Thompson. Those are kind of the notable names. After that, it's just basically like Nick Richards and a bunch of guys that probably won't get a bunch of playing time. Mm-hmm. Where do you see some of these guys landing?
I do feel sad for Russ just because he's kind of like hot potatoing through all the rumors right now. It's like nobody really wants to commit to him. And DeMar DeRozan, he was on the Warriors kind of war board, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't love that fit.
He's been connected to the Warriors and the Heat. That's it. Him and Klay Thompson both.
Yeah. I know Klay, it kind of sounds like Klay to the Heat is kind of a done deal.
Yeah.
That, you know, they were just kind of waiting on this LeBron domino to drop, and now that it has, that's probably done.
Right.
I don't really know. I feel like I could see DeMar a little more on Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And not so much Golden State.
Hopefully the bench, though.
Right.
Like, don't start.
That would be really yucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. If our starting lineup consists of those three, Bam, Giannis, and DeMar, that's too much.
Yeah.
That'll be like watching paint dry. It's just going to be really slow, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Old school type of hoops.
Well, it's going to be a lot of mid-rangers.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be the basketball that is exciting to the younger generation these days where we're just getting threes up. You're going to see DeMar settle for that mid-ranger every time.
Which I can appreciate, but I'm also in a place in my NBA watching where I would like to see both.
Yeah,
you know, a good little balance. Not one way or the other, but I would prefer, out of those two, I would prefer to see him in Miami, I think. And, you know, Klay in Miami, they'll need the shooting, but I don't think he can shoot anymore, really, but they need it.
Optical illusion.
And then Russ, I don't know.
The latest report on Russ, and this is why I said it was kind of sad, he has no interest.
Okay.
It went from being Miami to nothing.
Oh.
And there's a lot of talks now that he may end up not having a home once the season starts. He may end up being a signing late in the year if somebody gets hurt. So it sounds like around the league that his career is starting to wrap up a little bit. Which is sad. We love Brody. You know, back in the day, he was a monster.
Yeah, he was.
Him at his peak, he was a monster.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, Father Time waits for no one, and sometimes when you do the bouncing around, it leads to your demise.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you take a deal, not saying that he shouldn't have, but when you take a deal with the Kings, that's kind of it.
Yeah.
You know.
It's where careers go to die.
Yeah. Other than that, Bradley Beal, he's been linked to the Miami Heat and the Celtics because he's got ties with Jason Tatum. They're both from St. Louis. And then Nick Richards, he's like the last big guy left on the market that's worth a notable name that will probably end up either in Miami or Philadelphia. So that's kind of just a little overview of the last remaining notable free agents. It's starting to wrap up here as we get to the start of the season. Anything else you wanted to add on that?
Not really. I'm just glad the LeBron fiasco's over.
Yeah.
I'm ready for us to get to the season, honestly. There's a lot of moving parts. I'm ready to see how it all comes together.
Yeah, I am too. And, you know, we're getting to the point now where Adam can finally make the schedule. So we'll see what those matchups are about opening day and Christmas Day and so on and so forth.
We're getting Philly versus LA.
Oh, yeah. Nice little petty drama.
Yeah,
I think we get Philly and Boston maybe the first game, and then we get Philly, LA for Christmas. Yeah. That would be my guess, but let us know what you guys think on those free agents, and what did you think about LeBron and his choice? What do you think about the Sixers, you know? Moving on.
Yeah. So WNBA ALL-STAR was this weekend. We had the Shooting Stars Challenge, the 3-point contest, and then the game itself was on Saturday. It was a great weekend. Great showing for women's sports. Over 19,000 people showed up to the All-Star game, and that was a record crowd for the Dubs. So, made my heart smile. I am a humongous Dub supporter, and just to see the support from everyone else is just, I don't know, it's heartwarming. But AZ Fudd won the 3-point contest.
Yuck.
Now, her and Bridget Carlton made it to the final. Bridget started really strong in her first round. I think she had 29. Made it to the final round. AZ put up 30, and I think Bridget was at around the 25 or so mark. So it was a good contest, kinda. We had some really low lows, Natisha Heidemann, and some really high highs. AZ was shooting the mess out of that ball, so that was a good watch. The Skills Challenge, or the Shooting Stars, it's been rebranded.
Terrible.
They brought back some legends. So Elena Delle Donne was out there for the Washington team alongside Shakira and one of the young ladies from the Nike circuit who's a 5-star going into this year. And they won. They were able to bring it home. They went against like Team Seattle, a couple other teams that had a legend and current player pairing. So that was a good watch. Elena, they were talking to her and they were like, what do you think about coming back? And she said, I'd have to get my stamina together. And Holly's like, so it's not a no. She's like, it's not a yes. So I don't know, EDD, if that means the door is open, but we'd welcome you to come back and have one last little lap shooting the ball. You still got it, looks like.
Come to the Aces.
Yeah, please.
Please.
They need anything. So yes, it was a great Friday night. We were saying that there should be another event. It Absolutely. Wraps up so quickly on Friday night. Obviously, on the NBA side, you have the Skills Challenge, 3-point contest, right into the dunk contest. So that takes a while. It's, 2-hour event or so. In the dub, there's only 2 events. So we were kind of chatting that through, kind of what's a different activity or event they can add. You mentioned something like horse or a Queen of the Court, kind of a one-on-one tournament, but someone needs to strategize and get one more event added to the Friday night slot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even if it was just like half court, pickup game. I definitely think horse would be something cool to watch.
Yeah.
You see people out there working on shots that you don't see in game. And, that would be a nice concept to add to that because the weekend is pretty short,
Yeah.
You only get the couple of events and then it's over.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's see something else added to Friday night. That would be good. But then Saturday is when we had the actual game. Started off competitive, kind of second quarter, third quarter team. Spoon ran away with it, Teresa Weatherspoon. And then towards the end, Team Coop, Cynthia Cooper, they tried to come back a little bit, but it was a little late.
Yeah.
All-Star games, they were out there doing what you do in an All-Star game. Everybody was just having a good time. The defense was like optional as
it was awful.
As per usual in an All-Star game. You had Team Spoon headlined by Asia. Caitlin was on that team. Olivia Miles was over there. And Jonquel, who was the All-Star MVP. She had 22 points and 13 rebounds. Bahamian goddess right there. And then you had Team Coop, who had Paige and Stewie, Angel, and then your fave Marina. So you had some good talent distributed among both teams. Kalea Copper came in as Kelsey Plum's replacement, and she was on Team Coop. It was fun. Like I said, I love the W. So anytime there can be those eyes on it, I love it.
Yeah, record attendance.
Yeah, it was record attendance.
I enjoyed it. I mean, I would have liked to see a little bit more competitiveness there in the end. It seemed like it was wavering.
Yeah.
But I definitely enjoyed it. Coop, you iced out my girl. She was hot Marina was hot when she came in, and then you sat her down for 15 minutes, and she came back again and couldn't buy a shot.
Not even a layup.
Not even a layup. So, I mean, that was my pick for MVP, unfortunately. She did not. And she did not do well in the 3-point contest. Rough weekend. Maybe let's pull it together. Other than that, though, I mean, you saw Team Spoon. They just wanted a little bit more. They had those dogs over there that are just angry all the time.
Okay. Angry all the time.
I mean, Caitlin's got a little temper about her, and Olivia has a temper about her, and those were the two most competitive people on the court for sure. So, they said after the game that they had made a pact basically to go as hard as they could to put on a show for the fans, and that they did. So
yeah,
it turned out to be a really good game, really good weekend. Unfortunately, it's not longer, but We were able to get to see a decent amount and see the skill sets on display out there and see your favorite, dub stars go out there and compete, and a little bit from the past, see some of those giants that broke in the industry, out there supporting.
And shout out to the Stud Buds. Another 72-hour stream complete.
I'm so tired of them.
No, honestly, we need to wrap that up. Because the past 2 years, last year when they did it for the very first time, and this year, there's always something that comes out of these streams that we as the fans do not need to be privy to.
Yeah.
The W is literally a reality TV show.
This is not VH1.
It is, though.
But this is supposed to be the dub on Ion.
Yes.
Not the dub on MTV.
The dub on USA.
Yeah, this is crazy, man. Yeah. Y'all need to quit dry snitching on that stream.
I do think it needs to be buttoned up a little.
Absolutely.
The fans, we have way too much knowledge about who's dating who cheated on who did this and that. Just play basketball. It's different if you're looking at a DB who is engaged to an Alyssa Thomas, and we know that, but we've got people dating teammates, exes, cheating on each other, and we don't need to know that, but it's being caught on live stream.
Right.
Via the stuff.
At the end of the day, just have a little bit of professionalism.
Right.
Listen, albeit with everything considered, we could talk to you about a bunch of stuff going on in the world, all the stuff that we hear, the rumors, all that stuff. But when we come here and we sit down, we want to make sure we give you the best product, that it's informational, that you get a chance to leave here with something you didn't know beforehand. And I just hope that they can start to approach that with the same idea.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more buttoned up, like you said, because I know that the drama sells, but man, at some point, if you want that to go further, hopefully you would, kind of button it up just a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't think you want to lose that personal touch with the fans, right? So if you let them in a little bit and let them see your life, like Life in the W, the 6-part docuseries that just dropped on ESPN, following the WWE. We're excited for SummerSlam.
Absolutely.
The WNBA season last year. That was great. It gave insight into DeWanna Bonner's life, Asia Wilson's life, and Nafisa Collier's life. I loved that. But they controlled that narrative, right? They showed us what they wanted us to see.
Correct.
That's what we need. It's personal. It's still professional.
Mm-hmm.
So Courtney and Natisha, I don't feel like they have that within them. They want to get lit. They want to party. They want to have a good time. But somebody needs to put some structure around that, because we are seeing too much come out of these dang live streams.
Absolutely. And just know, obviously this is all coming from a place of love, number one. I mean, who are we to tell you? But at the end of the day, also, we want to see you be successful too. And you don't want a situation like some of these situations to put an end to the stuff that you work hard for, because stuff like that can happen very fast.
Yeah.
So, all in all, though, it was a really good weekend. Mm-hmm. And it was great to see that point of view from their side of things. Yeah. It was great to see the players' point of view, get a chance to interact with them more. They had Holly Rowe working. Maybe let's get her a mic that's uncorded, a wireless mic, when she's running around. But they had her working. She was even in the club after. I don't know if she was
turned
working,
up,
but
hitting
she
her
was out there.
Her little Shadora move.
Yeah, Rick Ross mom dance. But yeah, I mean, really good weekend. It was great to be a part of it and see, all the ins and outs of their All-Star weekend. And I just think bigger and better things are coming forward for them. Seeing that record attendance, seeing everybody as a standing ovation, that was amazing to watch. The game has come a long way from when I was a kid, and you would hear about the Giants in this game, but it wasn't on prime TV.
Yeah, it wasn't accessible back then.
Yeah.
For sure.
Did you want to kind of talk about Ryan Clark?
Sure.
Let's kind of get into that. We've got a little bit of time.
Oh, okay. So if you haven't heard of The Pivot, it is a podcast with Ryan Clark, Fred Taylor, and Channing Crowder. They are all three former football players. Ryan Clark has a ring. I think Channing does as well. Right? No, probably not.
No. I didn't play long enough.
Yeah, just Ryan. But they are three former NFL players that all get together. They interview a ton of different people from a bunch of different sports, industries, kind of anything you could think of. They try to expand their reach. But their whole premise is to give athletes a safe space. So that's The Pivot. Ryan Clark also was employed by ESPN. He did their Monday night coverage for football. He was on NFL Live. He was on Get Up quite a bit and First Take with Stephen A. They fired him. And they tried to kind of loop it into the layoffs that were occurring. We saw a couple other people get laid off. Cam Newton.
Bart Scott.
Yeah.
They had I think the guy that covered the MLB, the guy that covered the NHL, a lot of longtime writers and producers, laid off a lot of guys.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
They tried to loop in Ryan's as a layoff, but he was fired. I think they tried to do that to kind of mitigate some of the backlash that they would get. But essentially, if you watch that Pivot episode, they call it a 3-man weave when it's just them. Mm-hmm. He kind of went into it. He had some moments where he was crying, some moments you could tell he was hurt and upset. It was not a football decision. It wasn't because he wasn't good at his analysis or good at his job. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that sounds like they didn't want him to say, touch, get into, support. He did, and that just didn't sit right with them.
Right. And, him kind of talking about those things, he was speaking to the fact that he had changed himself a lot to adapt to the environment that he was working in.
Yep.
And, it's hard imagining being on that big of a scale, how hard it is to figure out what you can and can't say. And one day you've got free range to say whatever you want, and then the next day you're reprimanded for what you said, and now you can't hardly say anything. And I think it was one of those situations where he said the wrong thing one time, and it wasn't even necessarily wrong, but it's not what they wanted to the executives wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And that ended up costing him later down the line, cost him his career choice, And it's sad because Ryan Clark was really good at his job.
Yeah.
I'm not on the lens of Stephen A. Stephen A. said that he was the best to ever do it. I don't know about that, but I will say that Ryan Clark did captivate his audiences.
For sure.
He has a following for a reason. He's very well spoken. He knows the game of football, and I just think that he wasn't afraid to go certain places where other people did not want to touch, and that ultimately lost him his job in a really bad way.
Yeah.
I think the reason his situation stands out is because of how they did it. They did it during the middle of a show.
Yep.
And they tried to cover it up with, well, it's going to be leaked either way. It was only going to get leaked if you put it out there.
Which, when you listen to him talk on that Pivot episode, he's very much so aware that it was leaked. And especially to the outlet that it was leaked to. He's had a prior run-in with them, and it wasn't so good publicity for him. They really sent a lot of bad people to him, that talked about him really negatively. So it was getting leaked to that same outlet, and he knows it,
Yeah, so, all in all, Ryan, hopefully you land on your feet. I know he's going to be successful. He's going to do really good things. There's a lot of talks of different things he's put into motion. But, just coming from this, he talked about his experiences and what he's learned. And hopefully it allows him to enter another space where he doesn't have to capitulate to what's going on around him. That he can be who he is authentically and make it to where he wants to go, reach those heights by being himself. Take the pivot and you do that with that.
Right.
Instead of having to bend for a place that clearly doesn't value its tenured people. The people that have made them what they are. And this isn't a shot at ESPN, But it is a situation where it's unfortunate. If you're on the outside looking in, you're thinking to yourself, how do you want to reach for those goals? And this is how you get treated if you've been there a long time or if you're good at your job, you know?
Yeah, I think the good thing about this day and age that we're in, back in the day, ESPN was all we had for our sports news. That was the only place you could go. But what's good about today is the fact that you can go turn on the pivot. You can go turn on numbers on the board. You can go seek out the type of coverage that you're looking for. You can go turn on Cover Together, and get what you want to hear from the people you want to hear it from. Sports news is so much more accessible. And I think, ESPN has a clear direction they want to take things. Obviously, they'll have their audience. And I think a lot of the audience that follows Ryan, that follows the Cams of the world, that want a different point of view, they'll follow them.
Absolutely. And, it's just like with Shannon Sharp. His situation was a lot different.
Yeah.
But he was a guy that he landed on his feet. He has nightcap. And he's still, and it's one of a kind. He's still going strong. So I know Ryan will be successful. And, another person that had a similar thing happen to him, Gilbert Arenas. He lost his show and it was completely different circumstances and so on and so forth. But he owns the rights to his name. He's going to end up getting it back. He's creating his own thing and he's going to be right back at it. These are two of the top earning sports podcasts, The Pivot and Gil's Arena. So you're going to see a bounce back from these guys and, we just hope all the best for them,
Yeah. Yep.
And
agreed.
I think for the most part, though, that does it for us today. We appreciate you lending an ear. We appreciate you putting your headphones in wherever you are, if you're in the car, whatever you're doing.
Or playing it on speaker.
Yeah, playing it on speaker, letting us get our thoughts off, and we hope that you continue to join us, and we just thank you for your support as we continue this journey. I've been Boogs.
I've been Mara.
We will talk to you again very soon.
Yep.
Peace.
Peace.